Hi, I'm John DiArmo with the Coquille Valley Sword Group, and today we're talking about Article 24. So, let's begin. Article 24, the perception of the situation. The perception of the situation teaches that you should perceive the actual situation exactly. That is to say, the condition of the location as well as that of the opponent, whether he is high or low, deep or shallow, strong or weak. The teaching of the thread and the yardstick should be continuously applied during the fight. The situation should be recognized immediately at any given time. If you perceive the situation correctly, you can always achieve victory, whether to the fore or to the rear. This should be carefully tested. So, Musashi says, hey, you want a sure course to victory? All you have to do is perceive the situation exactly. It's like, okay. What are we perceiving? So that's easy. The environment and the opponent. It's like, so everything. But the truth is, what we're looking at is some very specific factors, right? In the environment, we're looking first for things that can cause us trouble, things that we have to adapt to in order to work at our very best in this situation. So, uneven ground, ground that is going to impede us in some way, is boggy or slick, or that has large cobbles that we might trip over. We're looking for things that will impede the path of our sword. Walls, ceilings, trees, other people, that sort of thing. Right? Next, we're looking for things in the environment that might benefit us. Right? Structures that we can push the opponent into. Things we can push them over, trip them over, stuff on the ground, so forth and so on. Things that we can use to obstruct their sword. The position of the light in the room. For instance, in Yoho, we try to keep the sun or the light behind us so that their eyes are dilated in a way that is less efficient for accurately perceiving our work and our motion, right? Or we try and push them to the left with the sun to our right. Most people don't know why to the left, so we'll talk about it real briefly, right? In Yoho, of course, using two swords is one of the hallmarks of our method, and regardless of the method, when using two weapons, it is always more efficient to push the opponent to the left side. That's because the offhand weapon, whether it's the parrying dagger or whether it's a wakizashi, is used to receive and direct the opponent's work, right? And so we want that sort of at the forefront to clear the path and to give opportunity to our working blade, our longsword. Now, when using the sword, just the long sword, no short sword, you can still push them to the left without detriment, right? They can go either direction, and it's sort of equal. I still think that there's a little bit more benefit pushing them to the left with the long sword, but my ideas on it haven't quite matured enough to kind of put them out there, so we'll just stick with the two sword explanation. Right? So we have assessed the environment for what will benefit us, what will harm us. Right? Next, we look at the opponent and we go, okay, well, first and foremost, what is their state of mind? Right? Are they calm? Are they scared? Are they agitated? Are they aggressive? Are they jumpy, finicky? Right? What is their mental state? Right? Because that is the most important factor in kind of giving us insight into what their behavior is going to be, so we can predict it and adapt to it, overcome it, right? The next thing we look at is their skill level, right? Well, how do you judge somebody's skill level from the outside when you're using a different method than they are, right? If you only ever fought Hyoho guys, of course, you could just go and say, oh, that's very bad Koshimi Hanmi, your skill level isn't good, or, oh, your Teinouchi is fucked up, or, oh, you're looking me in the eyes, like, but how do we judge the skill level of people of other styles, right? Well, that's easy, right? You spend an inordinate amount of time in your own training developing skill. And what is skill? Really, it's mastery over your body and your mental state, right? So, you already have one clue because you've observed their mental state. If they're anything but calm inside, right? You know that their skill level is not going to be very high. Now, you can affect bolsteriness, right? So it does, you do have to work to be sure that you're discerning the situation accurately, of course. But there are other things that give away a person's skill level. The control and comportment of their body. If you see somebody's form constantly changing, they've got a lot of loose sort of slop in their body positions, in the way they move, in the way they observe you, right? Every inconsistent behavior in them is a sign of lack of skill, right? Lack of self-mastery. And this gives you information as to the degree of proficiency that they can respond to you, right? And the last thing that we want to look at is what strategy are they employing, right? Now, we often equate the word strategy with like a well thought out in advance tactical plan. But this is not necessarily how it's used in this case, or how it's generally used in Hyoho, which is to say a person's strategy is merely the mode of operations that they have, right? Of course, if somebody's come to attack you, they've played it out in their mind a little bit, and they think, oh, okay, you know, I'm going to attack him, and he's going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and they have their whole mental idea of the fight and how it's going to go down. Of course, the moment they encounter you, that goes out the window for the most part, because you are never going to respond in the same way that they predict unless they've spent a lot of time around you and they have familiarity with your fighting method, your individual fighting method, as well as your studied school. In these cases, people will always revert to their base level, right? Which is why we train so hard, so that our base level is elevated. But for most people, it will break down into either thoughtless aggression, sort of panicked self-preservation, trying to hit you occasionally, or the kind of person that's like, oh, I got you, oh, I got you, oh, I got you, right? It just depends on their sort of personality type, what they're inclined to do, right? Once you understand how they're operating, harmonizing with that and overcoming it is quite simple, of course. And we talked about specific ways of doing that in the last chapter, I believe. So go back and watch it. Right? So that is pretty much it for perceiving the situation. Right? If you accurately know how things are going to behave, you can adjust yourself to them. And since our method is built around this harmonizing and dominating the opponent, this should be very straightforward to do once you get into the habit of actually looking at people. Right? So, as always, if you want to understand this work, you have to pick up a sword and go train.